the breath. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So we continue reading from Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 3, Chapter 32. We are on text 21. Ataste Shina Sukrataha Panarlokam Imam Sati Patanti Vivasha Deve Sadyo Vibram Shitodayaha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. When the results of their pious activities are exhausted, they fall down by higher arrangement and again come back to this planet, just as any person raised to a high position sometimes all of a sudden falls. So yesterday we were hearing Lord Kapiladev is telling his mother Devahuti that the yogis, those who have ulterior motives, so we might go up to the higher planets. You know, we may do a lot of yoga, but if we have not perfected it, not realized Paramatma in our heart, so we will go to the higher planets. But once our time is finished there, we will come back again to this planet and we will find ourselves in the same position. You know, but it's just that time has passed by. That's all. So it is found, it's sometimes found that a person elevated to a very high position in government service falls down all of a sudden and no one can check him. So this we have seen also. Someone may be very famous, you know, for a certain time, like really on top of the world, really everyone is praising them, but suddenly something happens and they are not to be heard of. Nobody cares for them anymore. You know, so we have seen that. So our desire to go up to the heavenly planets is the same. You know, we'll have the desire, go to the heavenly planets, enjoy a lot. But again, we will come back to this earth. Again, we will find ourselves where we are right now. You know, so what we have done is just utilized a lot of time and energy just to come back to the same place. Similarly, after finishing their period of enjoyment, foolish persons who are very much interested in being elevated to the position of president in higher planets also fall down to this planet. The distinction between the elevated position of a devotee and that of an ordinary person attracted to fruitive activities is that when a devotee is elevated to the spiritual kingdom, he never falls down, whereas an ordinary person falls, even if he's elevated to the highest planetary system, Brahma. So this is the reason we are always encouraged to engage in spiritual activities, hearing and chanting about Krishna. So we can actually go back to the spiritual world. Once we reach the spiritual world in one of the spiritual planets, then no way can we come back here to the material world. We don't need to. There's no more desire to come in the material world. You know, it's like once we have a higher thing, you don't want the lower one. So once we reach the spiritual world with so much joy, so much bliss, it's eternal, there is so much love, then why would we want to come to this material world? But if we are just attracted to this material world, we are attached to this material world, then we will continue remaining here. We continue to remain here. Sometimes we may be on a high planet, sometimes in a low planet, sometimes in body of demigod, sometimes in body of cat or dog. That doesn't matter. So it is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Abrahma Bhuvana Loka, that even if one is elevated to a higher planet, he has to come down again. But Krishna confirms in Bhagavad Gita 8.16, Mam upetya tu kaunteya purnarjanma na vidyate. Anyone who attains my abode never comes back to this conditioned life of material existence. This is Krishna's guarantee. He says, anyone who comes back to Golok Vrindavan, never again they're going to come to this material world. Never again they will take up a material body. So we should have faith in Krishna, trust in Krishna. This is what he's saying. Mam upaitya tu kaunteya punarjanma na vidyate. Anyone who attains my abode never comes back to this conditioned life of material existence. Krishna is using the word never. He's not saying maybe sometimes. He's saying never comes back. That's his assurance. So we should have this desire. Oh, how can I go to Krishna's abode? Because Krishna is saying, once I go there, I don't need to come back to the material life. So how can I go there? Then how can we go there? We associate with the devotees. The devotees tell us how we can go there. We hear and chant about Krishna. We engage in devotional service. We revive our love of Krishna. And we can go to Golok Vrindavan. That's where Krishna lives. Golok Vrindavan is a spiritual planet in the spiritual world. It's the highest planet in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, there are many, many planets. As we have planets here in the material world, we have planets in the spiritual world. So the highest planet in the spiritual world is Golok Vrindavan, where Krishna personally resides. In other planets of the spiritual world, Krishna is there in his expansions, in various Narayan forms, in Vishnu expansions, or Lord Ramachandra, or Lord Nishingadev. So all these are Krishna's expansions. But he himself, he is there in Golok Vrindavan, and he says, and anyway, we could reach a planet where it's a planet of Lord Nishingadev. Even if we want to go there, from there we will never come back to the material world. We reach any of the spiritual planet. We don't need to come back to the material world again. Is that okay?
Yes.
Smatvam sarva bhavena vajasva parmeshtinam tad gunashraya bhaktya bhajaniya padam pucham. My dear mother, I therefore advise that you take shelter of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, for his lotus feet are worth worshipping. Accept this with all devotion and love, for thus you can be situated in transcendental devotional service. So here, Lord Kapila Dev is telling his mother, take shelter of who? Who are we taking shelter of? We find so many shelters here in the material world, and we are attached to these shelters. But our true shelter is Krishna. He is our true shelter, and his lotus feet are worth worshipping. Krishna is the only worshipable object. He's the only one worth of worship. Why? Because of his amazing qualities. Krishna is amazing. His qualities are amazing. The more we hear about him from Bhagavad Gita, from Srimad Bhagavatam, the more we are able to take shelter of him. And Lord Kapila is saying, accept this with all devotion and love. Now we may say, but I don't have devotion and love for God as yet. What shall I do? Because Lord Kapila is saying, you take it with devotion and love, and then you will be situated in transcendental devotional service. Transcendental devotional service means devotional service beyond the modes of material nature. The modes of material nature are goodness, passion, and ignorance. Rajogun, Tamogun, and Sattvagun. So when we are bound by these modes, we are in material life. But beyond these modes is transcendental, spiritual, transcendental. So Lord Kapila is saying, take this shelter of love of God. Worship the Supreme Lord, and worship him with love and devotion, and you will be situated on the highest platform. So we may say, but I don't have love and devotion. But we have it. We've just forgotten it. Love of God is there in everyone's heart. It's not that it's in the heart of only one particular sect of people born in a certain community or a certain planet or a certain species of life. No, love of God is there in every living entity. We have simply forgotten it, and we have to revive it. And the easiest way to revive this love of Krishna that we have in our heart is by chanting the Hare Krishna mantra. That's the reason we are repeatedly We are repeatedly begged by the scriptures almost. Chant Hare Krishna. That was the mood of Lord Nityananda. That is Lord Nityananda's mood. Balaram Purnima is coming. Lord Balaram's appearance day is coming. Here in this part of the world, it's on the 11th. I think, I'm not sure for you if it's the 12th. So Balaram ji, when he
12.
came 5,000 years ago, I'm sorry?
For us, it is 12th. Yes, you're right.
12th. Okay, thank you. Yes. So for you, it's on 12th. So the mood of Lord Balaram. What is the mood of Lord Balaram? When he came 5,000 years ago, he saw Romaharshan's Sutta and he saw so much proud in Romaharshan that he killed him with a kusha grass. Now the same Balaramji, he came 500 years ago as Lord Nityananda. And what is his mood? That same kusha grass he puts in his mouth and he's going door to door and begging everyone, please chant Hare Krishna. Please chant Hare Krishna. Bolo Krishna, Bhajo Krishna, Koro Krishna, Shiksha. So Gaur Nitai, they've come and they're begging us, chant the holy name so that we can easily be situated in love of God. The word Parameshti is sometimes used in connection with Brahma. Parameshti means the Supreme Person. As Brahma is the Supreme Person within this universe, Krishna is the Supreme Personality in the spiritual world. So here, if we do research work, who's the most important person on this earth, we might say. But, okay, so there in every planet, there will be a most important person. So now who's the most important person in all the universes? In each universe, I mean to say. So in each universe, the most important person is Lord Brahma. Like that, there are millions and gazillions of Brahmajis. It's not that our universe is the only universe. There are many universes, and each universe has its own Brahma. Some Brahmas have 4 heads, some have 10 heads, some have 100 heads, some have million heads, depending on the size of the universe. So who's the supreme person in the spiritual world? That is Krishna. Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead. Lord Kapila Dev advises his mother that she should take shelter of the lotus feet of the supreme personality of Godhead Krishna because it is worthwhile. Taking shelter of demigods, even those in the highest positions like Brahma and Shiva, is not advised herein. One should take shelter of the supreme Godhead. So we are always searching for shelter. We are searching for shelter, and who is the real shelter we are searching for? Is Krishna. It is Krishna who we are really searching for because in our heart we have love of Krishna and he's the only worshipable person. And he says in Bhagavad Gita, he says to Arjuna, oh sir, Arjuna, you abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender to me. That's his instruction. We simply have to take it up. We take it up because that's for our highest benefit. The scriptures are not there to cheat us. The scriptures are there to guide us, to take us back home, back to Godhead. But now, many times the scriptures are misinterpreted. We may not be able to understand the scriptures. That's the reason we need the guidance of the pure devotees. The pure devotees are guiding us how to go back home, back to Godhead. We simply have to follow their footsteps, not imitate, but follow how they're taking shelter of Krishna. In that same way, we need to deeply take shelter of Krishna. Sarva Bhavina means an all-loving ecstasy. Bhava is the preliminary stage of elevation before the attainment of pure love of Godhead. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita, Buddha Bhava Samanvitaha. One who has attained the stage of Bhava can accept the lotus feet of Lord Krishna as worshipable. So there are different stages of devotional service. The highest stage, the perfection of devotional service is love of God. Just one step before love of God is bhava, where the love is there, it's aroused, but not fully bloomed. It's like a bud, which is just beginning to open. It's beginning to open, but not fully bloomed. Fully bloomed is love of God. completely blue. Bhava is one step before. The emotions are there for Krishna. So this in all loving ecstasy, it's not material. It's not nothing to do with the body. It's nothing to do with the false ego. This is the love of the soul, the Jivatma, and Krishna. This is what we have to understand. It's not on the material platform. This is also advised here by Lord Kapila to his mother. Also significant in this verse is the phrase Tad Gunashraya Ya Bhaktya. This means that discharging devotional service unto Krishna is transcendental. It is not material activity. So bhakti is transcendental. Bhakti is not material. Now, we are in the modes. We may be in the modes, and because we are in the modes, we may perform bhakti under the modes. That's a different thing. But bhakti in itself is pure. Bhakti is completely transcendent. It is spiritual. It is Sanatan Dharma. It is the activity of the Jivatma. It's, it is the eternal activity of the living entity, of the Jivatma. When the soul is liberated, what does it do? It's not just sleeping. It's not just thinking, oh, I'm so great now, I've become God. No, the soul is engaging in this bhakti. So this is confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. Those who engage in devotional service are accepted to be situated in the spiritual kingdom. Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. They at once become situated in the transcendental kingdom. So the pure devotees, they may be here in this material world, but their consciousness is completely pure, is completely for the satisfaction of Krishna. They're engaging in pure devotional service. So they are in the spiritual world. They're in the spiritual world. Srila Prabhupada, the devotees were telling him once he was in New York and they were passing by not a very good road. So the devotees were telling him, we are sorry, Srila Prabhupada, that you have to see all this. He said, I'm always in Vrindavan. So it's the consciousness. It's the consciousness of the pure devotee. Devotional service in full Krishna consciousness is the only means for attaining the highest perfection of life for the human being. So what is the perfection of life for the human being? What is the perfection of life? We each of us make our goals. We each of us have some idea that I am successful if I do this, or this one is successful because of doing this. But the perfection of life of a human being is to develop our love of God, to revive our love of God, to be situated in this love of God, to act in love, to act on the loving platform. This is recommended herein by Lord Kapila to his mother. Bhakti is therefore nirguna, free from all tinges of material qualities. So bhakti is transcendental. Bhakti actually begins from the liberated platform. Brahma Bhuyaya Kalpate. Brahma Bhuta Prasanatma na sochati na kankshati samasarveshu bhuteshu mad bhaktim labhate param. Krishna says that also, that when one is on the Brahman, platform of Brahman, he's liberated, then he engages in bhakti. Because he's completely understood, oh, I am not this body. He's given up his false ego. His false ego is gone. He's stopped thinking he's the body. He's understood he's part and parcel of Krishna. And so he engages in bhakti. This is liberated platform. This is the liberated platform. Liberation doesn't mean just going to sleep or thinking that we have become God. No. Bhakti is the true life of liberation. Although the discharge of devotional service appears to be like material activities, it is never saguna or contaminated by material qualities. Again, as we said, because we are under the modes of nature, our devotional service will be under the modes, but bhakti in itself is pure. Bhakti in itself is pure. Now he's a pure devotee. He's hearing about Krishna out of love. So we may say, oh, he's hearing. What's the difference about hearing about a politician or hearing about Krishna? The activity is hearing, but hearing about a politician is completely material. But the pure devotee who's hearing about Krishna with love is completely transcendental. So outwardly, we may think, oh, it's the same thing. He's just doing an ordinary activity. But the way the activity is done decides, is it material or is it spiritual? That is what we have to understand. Chanting, speaking. One person may be speaking about some today's news. And here is a pure devotee who is just chanting the glories of Krishna. He's chanting Krishna's names. So the activity is the same, speaking. So we may say, oh, but he's just speaking, he's just using his body. But no, there's a difference. Speaking about ordinary mundane matters is material, whereas speaking about Krishna in pure love is completely transcendental. Tadgunashrayaya means that Lord Krishna's transcendental qualities are so sublime that there is no need to divert one's attention to any other activities. So this is Krishna's qualities. The more we hear about Krishna, the more we will be attracted to Krishna, because Krishna has these amazing, amazing qualities that attract our heart. His behavior with the devotees is so exalted that the devotee need not try to divert his attention to any other worship. It is said that the demoniac Putana came to kill Krishna by poisoning him, but because Krishna was pleased to suck her breast, she was given the same position as his mother. So Putana, she came to kill baby Krishna, She put poison on her breast and she was making Krishna suck the breast with poison. She wanted to kill him. But Krishna said, no, I've drank her milk. She came to me as a mother feeding me milk. So what did he do? He brought her to Golok Vrindavan. He gave her the position of a nurse. Who does that? If somebody does bad to us, we want to go kill them. You say, oh, you're going to kill me, I'm going to kill you. But not Krishna. This is what he's doing. Putana is coming to kill him, but he's like, no, she's given me her breast milk. She's like my mother. And he gives her liberation, much higher than liberation. He's bringing her to Golok Vrindavan, to his own planet. Devotees therefore pray that if a demon who wanted to kill Krishna gets such an exalted position, why should they go to anyone other than Krishna for their worshipful attachment? So this is what the devotees say, that Krishna is so amazing. He has such wonderful qualities. We want to worship Krishna. There are two kinds of religious activities, one for material advancement and the other for spiritual advancement. By taking shelter under the lotus feet of Krishna, one is endowed with both kinds of prosperity, material and spiritual. Why then should one go to any demigod? So we should take shelter of Krishna. Krishna is our supreme worshipable object. He is God. And he's worthy of being God. That's the reason he's God. It's not just, like many times the politicians, they corrupt and then they take the position and the honor by corruption. And then we feel let down, oh, this person is not worthy of being in this position. But Krishna, he's truly glorious. He's truly glorious. His amazing, amazing qualities, his amazing pastimes. So we should take shelter of Krishna with our heart. We should not make anyone else the object of our worship other than Krishna. So the more we hear about Krishna, the more we chant Krishna's names, the more we can take shelter of Krishna. Is that okay? Are there any questions or comments? Or did anyone want to add anything? If No, then we'll stop here for today. Thank you so much for listening in and joining in. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Shilpa Prabhupada ki jai, Gaur Bhakta Vrinda ki